Sure, Kunal. Yeah.
Good morning, students. For today's session of SAP, we have a Nagraj sir with us for today's session. Nagraj sir, you can proceed with your class, sir.
Thank you
And
so much,
student,
Kunal.
one more thing, whatever query you raise in a question answer, I will publish it. Once it published, sir will check and reply. Wait until that and watch the class. In between, don't ask that what is this thing didn't reply. If you have asked, someone has asked me one question, the similar question, if someone is asking, I will decline that question because I have already posted it once for sir. Okay, students? So you can start the class.
Thank you so much, Kunal. Yeah. I finished a topic. Uh, I will not be taking the Q&A part of it in the midst of a topic because the continuity when I'm explaining something or when I'm trying to go about doing a particular concept, I would have to complete the whole explanation and then move on to the next topic. So that is the reason you'll have to please wait till your queries are answered. Okay, and I will be taking up queries only from the SAP side, in the sense only from the subject perspective. Okay, now, so I hope things are getting interesting. So we just finished how we need to perform transactions, simple finance related transactions, right? And yesterday we touched upon and also we revised what is parking, what is posting, what is hold. Okay, how do you retrieve a whole document and how do you duplicate an entry? Somebody was asking if entries could be duplicated in SAP. Yes, it can very much be duplicated in SAP. But when it comes to the vendor and the customer invoices, let us see how the system behaves. As far as the journal vouchers are concerned, you can replicate the entries. Let me not say duplicate, you can replicate the entries. Now, what did we learn yesterday? So we came down, we moved from the general ledger perspective of the SAP finance module to the AR and AP, accounts payable and accounts receivable submodules. And we came across some very interesting terminologies probably. So basically your accounts payable deals with your vendors, your accounts receivable deals with customers. It can alternatively be called as bills receivable and bills payable. That is what we used to call in one of our organizations. That is even before I started working on SAP. The AP department was called as bills payable and the AR department was called as the bills receivable. Okay. Now, how did your finance module start? The answer is very simple. You created a company code first, and later, as a part of the first master data, what you created something called as a chart of accounts. That is the first master data which the financial consultant creates. Okay. So similarly, to enable transactions to happen within the SAP system, okay, you had to have a list of the general ledger accounts. Clear? Now, similarly, Your accounts payable and your accounts receivable submodule starts with the creation of your individual vendor master records and your customer master records. Now the creation of the master data also can happen with a combination of two different modules, which is your FI and MA for vendors and FI and SD for customers. So at that point in time, we have different views of data, three levels or three views of data. Three levels or three views of data depending upon at what level you are going to create the customer or the vendor. But for our purposes, we are going to create the customer and vendor only from our perspective, only from the finance perspective. Clear? Now, so the creation of the vendor or the customer master data becomes the first and the foremost creation of the first and the foremost requirement for us to start talking about your AP and your AR submodules. Now, we also saw the different transaction codes. I will show it to you on the system through in the form of the navigation, how you arrive at the customer and the vendor master creation. Here again, when I said, what did I tell you when we created the chart of accounts or a general ledger account master? Suppose you get a request asking you to add a general ledger account. Would the consultant immediately create the master record? Obviously, he will not do it. He will wait for the approval from the master data management team, and then and only then he creates the master data. He creates the required GL account. And why does this happen in our SAP scenario? It happens with a sheer intention of not having a number of general ledger accounts meeting the same requirement. If you have rent account, you need to have only one rent account. Just because you get another request for creating a rent account, all right, you cannot keep adding rent account endlessly to the master data. Really? Now, did you understand? So this is the reason as to why that master data management team scrutinizes the individual master data and then gives the go ahead for the consultant or for the end user to create the master data. The same thing happens as far as your vendors and your customer master data is also concerned. Same thing happens. There will be no duplication of the similar data in any of the master data. Even the cost center master data, when we are going to look at maybe say tomorrow or maybe even say the next week, you will see the individual teams ensure that there is no redundancy of data, repetition of the data, especially when the master data is concerned. Clear? Now, so how do we start creating the vendor and the customer master data? How did we create a general ledger account? So when we created a general ledger account, the first and the foremost information was to which account group. So how have you classified or how have you grouped the GL accounts? And where is the new GL account? In which group is it going and getting it? The same thing applies to your vendor and your customer master data also. So we create the different account groups. For what purpose? For us to classify what category of vendor or the customer we are transacting with. Now, even when we talk about SAP, okay. Now, just like we had the INT chart of accounts, and in the INT chart of accounts, we had the different account groups, the asset group, the reconciliation. Do you remember? So, has SAP provided the standard vendor account group and the standard customer account group? The answer is yes. As far as the vendor is concerned, there is an account group created by the standard SAP system with the identifier KRED. Similarly, there is a standard customer account group with the identifier KUNA. Why these names? I wouldn't be in a position to answer because they are the SAP standards. Clear? And you can create your own, just like you had your own GL account groups. You can also have your vendor and your customer account based on whatever is your business consideration. Okay. You can categorize your customers and vendors as export, import, local. Based on the business volume, you can categorize them as high profile, medium profile, low profile. Whatever you can consider, whatever the business requirement you can consider, you can have those many vendor and customer account groups. Concept of reconciliation account. I would say that this is the first integration point between your FI main module and your AP or your AR submodule. It is linked through a GL account. What is this 1,60,000 and 1,40,000? It is nothing but a reconciliation account. 1,60,000 is of the reconciliation account type for vendors. 1,40,000 is for the customers. How does it help, or what is its role? Just like your retained earnings account aggregated the balances of all your profit and loss accounts, your vendor reconciliation account aggregates the balances of all your vendors and finally pulls out the sundry creditors figure. Similarly, it does so as far as your customers is concerned. Your 1,40,000, what does it do? It aggregates all the balances of all the customers. Okay, and then summarizes the, or rather puts the balances in the sundry debtors figure. Clear? So as I've written, it links the individual subledger to the general ledger. Your individual subledger is your respective vendor or the customer, and your GL account is nothing but your recon. I hope I showed you how it is defined. This 1,60,000 and 1,40,000. It is a balance sheet nature GL account. This 1,60,000 is a reconciliation account for vendors, and 1,40,000 is the reconciliation account for the customer. In SAP, you can have the reconciliation, these kind of general ledger accounts for three things. We have already seen two: vendors, customers, and the third one is your assets. Clear? So your assets, customers, and vendors, they have the concept of reconciliation account. So did you see the meaning of reconciliation changing here? It is not your comparison of your balances. No, it doesn't. It is not that meaning. But here the meaning is it aggregates the balances of the vendors and the customers to arrive at the creditors and the debtors field. Clear? Now, let us get into the system straight away. I will share the SAP screen. Now, initial screen is your easy access. Who creates this customer and vendor account groups? Obviously, your consultant. Your customer and vendor master data can be created by a end user. That is okay. But the customer and the vendor account groups is created by the consultant. So I will show you the place where you can, where the consultant creates the individual account groups. So now we have under financial accounting, we have AR and AP. Let us get into the vendor accounts first. Master data. Preparations for creating the vendor master data. And you have define account groups. All right. So here I will first see if I have already created GMIM. Yes, I have already created a group for import vendors for GM01. Clear? Now, do I have? Okay, let me create local vendors for GM01. Or this itself isn't, not a problem. I'll deal with. So I have already created an import vendor group for vendors for GM01. And I told you that as far as the standard vendor account group is concerned, there is a standard group called KRED. Can you see this? So this is a part of the standard SAP system. You can see this vendor account group in any of the SAP systems you open across the globe. Okay. Now, there is a concept of your number ranges also. Now, why this number ranges to these account groups? Now, suppose I want to have the import vendors, local vendors. Let me assume that I have two groups. And my boss asks me for a balance of a local vendor. And I have thousands of vendors. How do I look for that particular vendor in the huge list? So probably I may have, just like you had the, what can I exemplify this with? Number range. So you had your SA document type, and whenever you were posting your journal vouchers, you saw that the numbers were starting from 1000. Why? Because you had a group, you had a number range getting assigned to this SA document type. Now, similarly, you can have, I'm just giving you an example. So I may be having 10,000 customers. So I will classify them that vendors belonging, or rather having a number range between 1000 to 5000, they are the import category, and whatever starts after 5000, they belong to the local category. Just my assumption. This is for you to understand the basic logic behind you having your account groups for vendors and customers. The same thing, the same logic is applicable to your customers also, export customers and your local customers. So you can have two different number ranges. Now coming back to SAP, now forget about all the other options. Create number ranges for vendor accounts. Can you see this? Where I've highlighted create number ranges for vendor accounts. This is the place where the consultant creates the number ranges. This is for the vendor account groups. And I assign them to the vendor account group. So my vendor account group is GMIM. And it has got assigned to a number range 03. Now what is a 03? Let me go and find. I'll go to the create number ranges. I'll simply view. I'm not going to change it. What was the number range it was assigned to? 03. So 03 is 6350 and 6400. So all the vendors who belong to this particular, the GMIM import category for GM01, they get a number starting from falling in this range 6350 to 6400. And the current vendor number is 6384. Clear? Now, so much so for the explanation as far as your vendor account group and the number range is concerned. This is all the responsibility of the consultant. You have absolutely no role as any kind of a user to create the vendor account groups. Now, what is the role of a end user? So the consultant who's responsible for training up the people or the employees in the AP department trains them. See, I'm in the easy access menu. Go to AP, accounts payable, master records, create. So have I written down this particular transaction code here also? Can you see this? FK01. So where do you see FK01? You see it. So double click vendor. I'm not going to enter the vendor. Company code GM01. And which account group I want to create? GMIM. I want to create another vendor under this import category. Enter. Now do you see? Probably you may not be in a position to know which part of the data it is. What do I mean by which part of the data? So I said your master data is broken up into your general data information and your company code information. Since I'm talking about the vendor, I'll just restrict myself to this. And please make a note that we are creating from the finance perspective. We are not talking about the integration. Now, it asks for the title, whether you want to. It's a company. So I would say measures Blue Limit. I deal with them. I will tell you the importance of this search term. Normally in your live project scenarios, this is going to be a required entity. So I would say Cunningham Road 1250. You can see the reference to the country. It's a required entry. As you can see, a star. Region, you can do an F4. It is in Karnataka. So Karnataka is number 10. All these are created by SAP. Okay. Now you can see, as you scroll down, you can see the post box, you can see the postal code, you can see the other general information as far as this, see, mobile phone, okay, the number, whatever. So you can fill in all the required or all the general information as regards Measures Blue Limited. Now, what do I do at this stage? I'll click on enter. It'll take me into the next screen of the general data. Because of my experience, I know that this is a general data information. You don't have to see, it is an internal number range. Now, this is your first screen as far as your company code level of data is concerned. So do you see the reconciliation account is I connect the AP submodule to the FI module through this general ledger account. Clear? So this is the very basic information as far as the vendor master data is concerned. I'm going to show you more about the data, but this is the minimum information what is supposed to have been given for creating a vendor master record. I'll click on save. Now do you see 6385 was the identification code for Measures Blue Limited. You saw that when I showed you the number in 03, it had the latest number as 6384. So now when I created a new vendor, the next number was taken up, 6385. Did you understand the logic? Just like your document number keeps getting incremented, the vendor, as and when you create new vendors or your customers, your number also gets incremented within that range. Clear? Now, suppose I want to see the master data, whatever I have created, FK03 display. So you can see the pattern. 01, whatever transaction code ends with 01, it is always for creation. 02 is always for editing. 03 is always for display. This is a standard pattern which is followed by SAP. Click on display FK03. Now, since I am in the finance related transaction code, I created the vendor in FK01 and I'm viewing the data in FK03. So that is why I am able to view only the general data portion of the information and the company code level of the information. Now, as you could see, the company code I have just provided with the reconciliation account. There are still some things more you could see. Okay, I'll click each and everything. And I have just filled up the address part. So I'll display now. I cannot change any data because the option is only for display. Enter. So you saw me visit only this screen. And I said the owner for this particular view of the data is the finance consultant. Clear? Now,
Sir,
yeah,
right now I'm like stuck in something. If you have any face any problem na, just text me out or call me out of my number.
no problem, Kunal. And we'll
Okay,
be
sir.
taking a break at 12 noon. If
Sure,
you're
sure,
back by
sir.
then,
Sure,
I think
sir.
that will be okay.
Sure, 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 sir.
You can still carry on with your work.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
just be available by 12 noon.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Thank you, Kunal. Yeah. So this was the first screen of the company code related data, the owner of which is the finance consultant. Now I'll enter. You can see the other informations of the finance person. You may not be in a position to relate anything now. As and when the subject proceeds, I will be taking it. Okay. So this is as far as your display is concerned. Now, if I want to add or change some data, I go to the FK02 option and change. In FK03, you saw the options were grayed out. I had no way I could enter the data. I mean, I could change the data. But here, if I want to, I will tell you the importance of this search term. Okay. If I want to change any data, all I wanted to show you was how I edit the data, in what option I edit the data. Okay. Now I have created 6385 as my vendor. Measures Blue Limited was generated with the code 6385. Clear? Now, I will start transacting with this vendor. How do I do it? I go to document entry. I go to invoice. FB60. Click. Isn't this something very similar to your FB50? The only difference is FB50, which was the journal voucher entry, it didn't ask you for the vendor, but here it is asking for the vendor, as this is your vendor related transaction. So I enter the vendor code 6385. Invoice date is today. I can give anything. So the reference could be invoice number 238956, some invoice number, the number of the original document, the original invoice. So the amount is, let us say, 1 lakh. Let me say being the spares. All right. So I am buying spare parts from 6385. I'll go to the line item. As you can see, I can see only a debit. I cannot see a credit. Why? What is the entry? Because the GL account, what you're entering as a debit is your purchase account. So what is the entry? Purchase account debit to vendor. So that is why there is no credit out. You can change it, not a problem. The credit would have already gone into 6385. Okay. Now, GL account. What GL account should I use? I will start using the purchase accounts, spare part purchases is relevant to tax, not a problem. So I give the amount. Start. So it is picking up from this particular place. Now, since this is asking me for tax, let me do something, or I'll create another general ledger account. Just hold on. So FS00, I'll start using transaction codes. What is the purpose? I am trying to create a new general ledger account for purchases. 404. Okay. 50. Okay. And I will create taking the help of the purchase account, which is already there in my company. I hope you are clear with this. Data was, I have created the new purchase account. So I will start using the general ledger. See, an entry is required in the item field text. I will simply say why the text field has been made mandatory. All right, enter is relevant to tax, not a problem. Now, can you see the address of the vendor appearing here? Blue Limited. The balance is 0. The debit is matching with the credit. Clear? So this forms your header portion. This is your line item portion. Clear? So now if I want to simulate, I can see the entry. What is it that you have observed? Can you see that it has taken up the KR document type? Invoice for a vendor. On top, that is the first line, the KR document type. It has taken the relevant posting keys, 31 as a credit to vendor and 40 as a debit for your general ledger account. So purchase account debit to vendor, that is the entry, right? Has it taken it up? Perfect. Clear? Now I can post this. I can post this entry. Can you see that the document number has changed from 10 to 19? Because your KR document type is assigned to a number range which starts from 19. And it is an internal number range. Do you see how I enter the vendor invoice? Now, as an end user, I want to see the balance of this customer. How do I see the balance? You have your account. You have, account. There to view the balances of a general ledger account, you had FBL 3N. Now you have FBL 1N. To view the balances of your individual vendors, you have FBL 1N, and there for the GL account, it was FS10N. Here it is FK10N. So you can see ADKMS, K vendors, S for GL accounts. Clear? Now I'll click on this. All items. I will execute this. So it has to show me the balance of this particular vendor. 6385 Measures Blue Limited has an open item. What is this open? The invoice is still open. It has not got paid. I have still not made a payment to the vendor. It is due. So 1 lakh is the amount. If I want to see the entry, I can click anywhere on this line. It will take me into the document. Go to this. There'll be something like a mountain icon. Click on this and it will take you to the entry. Clear? Now, if you are seeing something very interesting, I'll double click here. Can you see the reconciliation account, general ledger account? So every vendor will be having a reference to this particular reconciliation account. So what is the role? The role of a reconciliation account is to aggregate the balances of all the n number of vendors and throw up the balance as your summary creditors. Clear? Now, do I have any questions? Let me just have a look at the Q&A. See, the meaning of the line item is the place where you enter the transactions. The debit and the credit you enter, right? So that place is called as the line item. Why is that called as a line item? It is SAP's terminology. It is the place, but line item is the place where you are mentioning or you are actually telling the contents of the transaction. GL account A, GL account B, GL account C, GL account D. Okay, so another interesting thing is you can enter 999 line items. So a transaction in SAP can have 999 debits and credits. It can also have more, provided you sit with the technical person and ask for the changes. Has this concept been understood? Now, why did the system show that the invoice was due? I'll try to enter one more invoice. Let me enter it as 1110. Enter, enter. Now, why did you see it as due? In the header, can you see this? There was something called as payment terms, which said the invoice what you're entering or the purchase entry what you're entering is due immediately. So when I save this, the invoice becomes due immediately. Now I will go and see the balance of the vendor. FK10. Now I'll use this option. You can see there is no debit because we have still not made a payment to the vendor. So purchase account debit to your vendor account. So it happened in the period 2 in the month of May. So if I double click, It will show me the total constitution of the 2,10,000, and it consists of two invoices, and both of them are in the open stage because I have still not received I have not still made the payment. And I can also bring in that, just hold on. I don't want to do a mass change. So just keep going through all these particular icons. It is very, very helpful. Though you may not know, change layout, select layout. So I will say change layout. What is that? No, what did I want? What did I want to do? I wanted to bring in that due status. Let me just when I find that field, I will tell you what I was looking at. Okay. Just hold on. Let me add these two. I'm trying to make this report more meaningful, and I'm trying to add a few fields. Just hold on. Mhm. Please hold on. Okay, let me just see status. See, it is due. It is already due. So that is the reason as to why whenever your you raise an invoice, be it a purchase invoice or a sales invoice, the invoice becomes due for either making a payment or for receiving the payment immediately as of today itself. Okay. Clear? Now, any questions? Okay, how to book a vendor bill in foreign currency? Okay, can you explain the reconciliation account and the GL account number? See, your reconciliation account is also a general ledger account. The only difference is the purpose. See, you used various purchase account also. You use the bank account, but they all reconciliation account? Did I ever use the term reconciliation account for them? No. The reconciliation account in SAP has a specific role to play. The role is aggregating the balances of the vendors and the customers. It is also a simple general ledger account created in your chart of accounts. But the nature of a reconciliation account is different from that of an ordinary bank account or a cash account or your purchase account or your sales. Clear so far? Right. Now, one more question. How do I book an invoice in the foreign currency? Clear? That was it. Now, I would 6385. Let us say $115. Okay. Now you see, enter, star, asset $115. Put a star here. I'll enter the text, enter. The balance is 0. Now, if you see, where is the amount in local currency? See, 9,775 rupees. Your $115 is equivalent to 9,775 rupees. I hope I have answered that question. If you want to simulate, you can simulate. It is in your transaction currency. Okay. But this is how you carry out your postings in your foreign currency. Provided you had the settings, like I said yesterday, I showed you the settings where you had to enable the relation between your Indian rupee and your US dollars. This rate has to be picked up from there. Why is it 9,775 rupees, right? Let me just put it this way. 9,775 divided by 1. 85 rupees. So 85 rupees as of today is the exchange rate for a dollar as far as this transaction is concerned. All right. So this is the way you tackle your foreign currency transactions. Yeah. How is the exchange rate considered? I think we have already taken care of this topic. Don't worry, I will show it to you again. I mean, anyway, I'm not going to post this. Your exchange rate table is taken care of in a transaction called OB08. This is your exchange rate table where you maintain the relation between different currencies. Now, let me just find out that 85 rupees wala. Let me just check. So where is that 85? This is USD and rupees, right? Mhm. Did it take up 85 rupees or 82 rupees? Yesterday it was taking up 82. Is this the one? INR and USD. Somebody is changing the settings. That's okay. I mean, they would also be trying to learn. Not a problem. One USD. See, somebody has done this from 1/1/2023, 85 rupees. How do I know it is between USD and INR? See, INR. Is it picking up from G? Actually, it should pick up from M. That's okay. Okay, this is all what you need to know. How it is done by the consultant, do not venture into the consultant's portion of the work. That is where it is getting updated. Okay, it could have been a repetition, but it is good. The number of times I repeat, probably the concept will be more and more clear. I hope, I mean, I think this student had missed out attending that particular session. But anyway, good enough. Not a problem. Not at all a problem. Any other questions which I see? Do we have to remember the transaction code? No, not really required. If you want me to take you to the place of the consultant, I will take you there. But not really required because we are trying to concentrate more on the end user work. You see this enterprise structure definition. You have financial accounting. You have something called as, just hold on, just hold on. Sorry, it is in your, not enterprise structure, sorry. It is in SAP NetWeaver. General settings. You have the currency settings here. Currency settings. There you go to this particular check exchange rate types. This is your OB08. Sorry. Oh, there's just setting. Define translation rates. Sorry. Why is this giving me this error? Just hold on. This is your OB08. Okay. I also showed you from the transaction code perspective. But normally the end user doesn't have any role to play with the updation of this. How it happens in the live projects, probably let me not discuss it now. How this table gets updated. Don't worry about it. But it is a role of a consultant. Kunal, are you there? Are you back? Bill of exchange, bill of entry. Yeah, you can enter it manually. How can we change vendor account? See, as I said, anything what is created in SAP cannot be deleted. You can only block this particular vendor from being transacted upon, but you cannot delete this particular 6385 whatever I have created. But you can edit the data. If you're talking about change vendor account from the editing perspective, yes, it is possible. Editing, you can edit any data within the vendor master, but deleting the vendor himself is not allowed, is not possible. Don't worry about the assessment examinations. OK, it will be pretty OK, not to worry. Kunal, you're back. Students, what we'll do is we will take a 5-minute break. We'll be back by 12:15. OK, we'll just have a, in the meantime, you just refresh your memories with whatever has happened. And OK. OK, just before we take a break, I will tell you just one more thing. Now I'm entering the vendor invoice for 6385. So if I want to enter it for 6384, there is no vendor, is it? 6383. 6381. 6385. So once you have saved the transaction for this particular vendor, you cannot change the vendor. If at all you want to post the entry to a new vendor, you will have to come back to the screen, select the correct vendor, and then proceed. OK, so students will just take a quick break for 5 minutes and we will reassemble by 12:50. Yes, students, we will start in another minute. Meantime, let me just look for a few questions. So no new questions. All right. Now we have posted. Let me also write down the transaction code FB60, or there is also another code F-43. Similar to your, you had two places to enter uh, the journal vouchers. One is your FB50 and the other one is F-02. Yeah, I think you're familiar with both of them. Okay, I'll have to relog in. Now, how do you start making the payments? So now how do we have a look at the vendor balance? Accounts payable. You have your account. You can either use your FBL1N or your FK10N, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay. Just like you had FS10N, FBL3N for your general ledger account, you can pick up whatever is comfortable for you. I give the vendor code 6385. Company code is GM01. And I execute. Now I have a balance of 2,10,000 rupees payable to Messrs. Blue Limited. Okay. And both the invoices, both your purchase invoices are open. Open in the sense they have not cleared, they have not yet got cleared. And both the invoices are due for payment. And I showed you how it is picking up the due. Clear? Yeah. Now, let me start receiving the money. Let me start paying the money. Sorry. How do I pay the money? Document entry. Outgoing payment. F-53. So I'll make the payment today itself. GM01. The account is some bank. Okay. I'll make the payment for 1 lakh. Can you see the account type K here? So K is what? ADKMS. K stands for vendors. And you have the account. I am making a payment to 6385 vendor for the amount 1 lakh. Clear? I can either press enter or go to process open items. Can you see the place where I'm moving the cursor? It says process open items. Open items is what? The invoices which are pending payment. The invoices for which I still need to make a payment to the vendor. They are the open items or open invoices. Click on that. It will take me into two invoices. I said two invoices, right? Two invoices are open for payment and the total amount is 2,10,000 rupees. Now, can you see the color of these open items? It is by whatever name you want to call it. It is gray in color, bluish or whatever you may call it. So, meaning both of them have got picked up for payment. But what is the payment that I'm receiving? I am receiving a payment for 1 lakh and which I assume that I will close this invoice. So what I'll do, I will deactivate this particular invoice because I'm not making a payment to this invoice. So how do I deactivate? Simply double click on the item. Can you see the balance also changes? Now you see the difference in the color. This is the activated invoice is in a different color and the deactivated invoice is in a different color. If I want to activate this, I can double click and turn the color. See, the amount also updates, becomes it considers this invoice also. So here I have activate items and deactivate items. So here also I can take up the option. So activating and deactivating, what do they mean? They are simply selecting the invoices for which I am either making a payment or receiving the payment. You will see the customer also behaves in the same way. Yeah. So I am going to deactivate this invoice, double click, that's it. Simply double click. So now, since the difference is 0, SAP will be in a position to post. Let me come back. I wanted to show you something. What is this? I'm not posted that entry. I am making a payment. Can you see the document type KZ? KZ or KZ, whatever by whatever name you want to call it. The vendor invoice was KR and your vendor payment is KZ. K stands for vendors. Similarly, you have DR and DZ for customers. That we'll see when we take up customers. Again, I will re-enter the same data. Okay, after entering all this data, I will process open items. I'll deselect this invoice for which I'm not making a payment. And the amount is matched. Debit equals credit. I save the document. I post. Can you see the document number? 150017. So your KZ type of document type is assigned to a number range, which is containing this particular numbers. Now, if you want to see the vendor balance, now you will see the symbol has changed. It has got cleared. Can you see the invoice 19 and your payment is 15 series document? KR, KZ. Now do you see the difference in the symbols? This is open and this is clear. All right. Understood? Now, let me, for this invoice, 1,10,000. See this option for your vendor balance, your all items. It includes both your open invoices and your cleared invoices. If I say only open, you can see only one item will be displayed, 1,10,000. See, this is the difference. And if you see only the cleared, you will see that KR and KZ. You will not see that 1,10,000. But now if you select all items, you'll get a list of all the open as well as your cleared items. Clear? Somebody was asking me in the initial sessions, how do you clear? This is a perfect example of how you clear the particular items. Probably if I had explained you the concept of clearing at that point in time, that would not have been understood as clearly as it is being understood now. I hope so. You have understood. Now, let me receive some amount for this 1,10,000 rupees invoice. So, in the practical scenario, I may not receive each and every time. I may not receive the complete invoice amount. Clear? Now, I'll go to the same option, F-53. I'll receive, let me say 65,000. This concept is called as partial payment. Partial vendor payment. This concept is called as partial payment. Very much practical, right? You may not receive the complete or you may not make a complete payment. If you are supplied out of the 100 items, if you are supplied only 50 or 60 items, and the invoice, he has invoice for the whole 100 items, you will not pay for the 100 items. You will only pay for the items which you have received. Possible, correct? Now, for the same vendor, I'm making a payment of 65,000 rupees. Go to process of an items. Now you see there is a mismatch of 45,000 rupees because the invoice amount was for 1,10,000 rupees out of 1,10,000 rupees, I am releasing a payment of only 65,000 rupees. Can you see the partial payment tab here? Top left, just under the command box. Partial payment tab. Click. Go to that partial payment tab. Here again, you see the mismatch. Can you see? Now, all you will have to do is go to this payment amount column. Just double click. Now see, it has picked up the amount which you have entered. I have not done anything. It has picked up the amount what you have entered and it has nullified the difference. Now see how the system behaves. I'll save this document. I'll post this document. Again, the document gets posted in the 15 series. Go back. Now see the balance. FK10N or your FBL1N, whatever. Now you will see it will still be in the open state. Why? Because the invoice has not been paid completely. So unless and until the invoice gets paid completely, the status doesn't change. The status doesn't change. It will still remain in the open stage. Clear? Now I'll receive this. I'll make a payment of the remaining 45,000 rupees also. Shall I do it? I'm just revisiting the whole. I'm navigating for you to get more and more comfortable with the navigation. Okay, nothing beyond that. Document entry, outgoing payment, F-50. I'll make the payment for the remaining 45,000 rupees. I can either press enter or I can go to process open items. See, the difference is 0. I can post this document. Successfully it got posted. Now I will see the vendor balance. Now you will see all they are in the clear status. Now you see the 65,000 and the 45,000, they have the same KR document 15, 19, 19. So can you see that your 65,000, 45,000 and your major invoice consists of the same clearing document number? The original document got created here. This has got cleared against the, so this constituted this vendor credit. When the purchase entry got debited, was nullified when I received the payments, when I made the payments in two blocks. One is 65,000, other one is 45,000. Can you see the reference to the same document? Clear? So this is how you analyze the balances. Now, just hold on. Go to FK10 and see the balance. It actually shows you the same way, but format is a, see, 2,10,000 debit in the second period, 2,10,000 rupees is a credit. The vendor got a credit, measures Blue Limited got a credit when the purchase account was debited, and the Blue Limited vendor got a debit when I released the payment for the pending invoices. Now I see a balance of 0. Where do I see the cumulative balance? Cumulative balance is 0. If I double click on this line, it will take me into the same your FK10N report, or rather FPL1N. Clear so far? I see no questions in the Q&A block. Students, just take a break for 2 minutes, analyze whatever has happened, come back to me with questions. Most welcome to ask me repetitive questions, not a problem as far as the subject is concerned. Okay. KR and KZ, they are the different document types. When I spoke to you about we'll talk about the advances to the vendors a little later. Okay. KR and KZ, they are simply the document types pertaining to the vendor transactions. KR stands for your vendor invoices, your purchase invoices, and your KZ stands for your vendor payments. How the real payment is made? This is the real payment, right? What is unreal and real payment? I didn't understand. Your F-53 is a real payment. You're releasing money, right? You want to connect to the bank? Just hold on. I will connect the bank also with this payment. But this is a real payment. This is not a fake payment. There is no concept of real and unreal payment. Okay, your F-53, what I showed is a real payment because you're affecting the general ledger. So you cannot affect the general ledger for jokes because it will affect your financials. So I hope I have answered all the questions. We will discuss about the advance when we talk about the concept, when we okay. Now, how many ways are there for you to enter the vendor invoice? There is something, it is similar to your FB50 and your F-02. What you saw while entering the general ledger accounts, your simple journal voucher transactions. You have your FB60 as one form of entering the vendor invoice and the other form is F-43. Let us go through F-43. Something very similar to your F-0. Nothing different. I think I may have to relog in. Just hold on. Okay, I'll just go to that option. Counting. So what is the purpose? The purpose is to show you the other way of entering the vendor invoice. Accounts payable, document entry, F-43. Similar to your F-02. There you saw the document type SA. Here you're taking the vendor invoice type KR. This is your KR. This is the meaning of your KR. Somebody asked me, what is the difference between KR and KZ? KR is a document type which arises whenever you have a purchase entry. Okay, I'll just make a note of it in the Excel sheet also so that it can be clear.
One more thing, sir. Just hold on the student.
Yes, Manoj.
Most of the questions we have already noted it and published it and we have responded. If any question is getting missed right now, till 15 minutes are there, you can post your question. We will publish with the sir so that they can answer you. Thank you, students. Continue with the class.
Thanks, Kunal. So
Welcome, sir.
enter the currency also. Scroll down just like it would did you in your F-02. But probably people who do not have a hands-on or people who have not already worked on the SAP system probably could be a little uh, could be finding things a little complex. Okay, but believe me, once you get hold of the SAP systems and you have your hands on the system, things will be sorted out. Not a problem. Okay, so here you see the posting key. You remember the posting key? I had also made a point. The end user need not have to remember the posting key at any point in time. Now, what is this posting key? This is your vendor related posting key. Vendor credit. How do I know that it is vendor credit? Click on the F4 button or the drop down icon. What is 31? Vendor credit. Can you see this? The place where I'm moving the cursor? Vendor credit. So what should I ideally enter here? I should enter the vendor code 6385. Clear? Now enter amount. Let me put it as 65,550 rupees. Oh no. Okay. 85,550 rupees. This is your vendor credit. Now I need to debit the purchase. What is a debit purchase? Purchase account, what kind of an account it is? It is a general ledger account. So what is the posting key for the debit general ledger account? 40. I enter the debit GL account 404015. Is it right? No matches. 404015. Let me look for it. Jeez. Mm, 15, sorry. Okay, yeah. Enter. I'll put a star and a text. Clear? Enter. I can simulate the entry. And I can post. There is no difference. Your debit is matching the credit. And I can post. Document 19 series. KR document 190039 was posted. Now I can see the document. say I'm navigating very slowly so that you get a you get used to the navigation. Enter. This is the same way as you saw the essay document. Nothing different. So you saw the vendor getting a credit and your purchase spare parts getting a debit. If you see the balance of the vendor, now we saw the balance of the document. If you see the balance of a vendor, you will see this. You will see one open item for the value 85,550 rupees. So why did I create another invoice? I created another invoice just to show you the other way of entering the vendor invoice. So did you see? And the invoices due for payment. Clear? And it is in the open state because I have yet to make a payment for this particular invoice. You double click. If I want to go back to the transaction, I can simply double click on this one and go to the mountain icon where it will show me the entry. Now, do you see the GL account? Just hold on. Do you see the reconciliation general ledger account here? So all the vendor balances, they are getting accumulated as a sundry creditors in this general ledger account. Go to this particular icon, view the entry, view the document. And you must be very familiar with finding out the details. Correct? I think you're very familiar with all this. Clear? So there is one more way of entering your vendor invoice, which is your F-43. You could use FB60 or your F-43 to record your invoices to pass the purchasing. For your payments, currently you're using F-53. Okay. So now did you understand how the system is behaving? Clear so far? I only hope things are getting clearer. Let me take up the Q&A. I hope I have answered all the questions because I don't see anything new.
I think, sir, we can wind up the session for today. Yes, after 2 o'clock, we will rejoin.
Sure.
Sir, one question has come. Great.
Yes.
Great. Puna. Please explain.
KRED, KUNA. Now, you remember we created, or rather, I showed you the import group for your vendors, GMIM. That is created by the user. But what is there? What is KRED? What is KUNA? These are the standard vendor. KRED is a standard vendor account group provided by the SAP system itself. What do I mean by the standard? Whichever SAP system you open across the globe, you will definitely see this KRED as far as the vendor account group is concerned. But do you see GMIM? No, you will not see GMIM in any other SAP system apart from this ER2. That's all. Same thing applies to your KUNA also. KUNA is a standard customer account group defined by SAP, which is available across all the SAP systems across the globe. I hope I'm clear on that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Kunal. Any
I
other
think
questions?
there is no more question left. We can end up the session for today, and again we will join at 2 o'clock.
Sure, Kunal. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, student, for today's session of 11 to 1 p.m. 1 a.m. 1 p.m. We will continue the next session at 2 o'clock. Please rejoin at that time. Now we are having a session end of the day. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you, Kunal. Thank you.